As we told you earlier, the Federal Trade Commission has unanimously approved Google's purchase of AdMob for $750 million. Heath Terry of FBR Capital Markets, he's a top-rated analyst on Google, and he's joining us now on the phone with his reaction. Heath, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, tell us how big of a deal it is now that this acquisition is going to be able to go ahead, and how dominant is Google going to be able to be in the mobile ad space?
Well, I think this is a big deal, less because of what AdMob means for Google, and more because of what it could possibly signal from a regulatory standpoint towards Google. AdMob itself, this is a $750 million acquisition. It's a company that really is generating, and working in a space that's, not even $1 billion at this point. So for Google, it's still really small. It's just very early stage. But it does give them a foothold and a bit of a start in what obviously over time is going to be a really big part of the digital advertising market.
Heath, this took Google a lot longer than anticipated to finally consummate this deal. Why?
Well, Google has a massive target at the back. From a regulatory standpoint, and you see it in the headlines, you see it in what's going on in Europe right now, and you can argue whether the target was put there by the government, whether it was put there by Microsoft or Apple, or whether Google kind of, at least at some level, contributed to putting it there itself.
Well, was part of the target there 2 years ago during that DoubleClick acquisition?
Well, that's where we really first started to see the impact of it. The DoubleClick acquisition took over a year to close. Meanwhile, Microsoft, who's had its own share of targets, was able to close a very similar, even bigger acquisition in Quantive in just a few months. So Google still has a lot of work to do to really get to that level where they're able to deal with the regulatory environment and deal with the government entities that they have to in the kind of fashion that old pros like Microsoft are able to.
I want to talk more about what the mobile ad market is going to look like going forward. Do you see it as really a majority two-player market, Google and Apple, or do you think there's going to be some smaller players coming in here?
Well, certainly you can't count out Microsoft in any of this. I mean, Windows CE is still there, with everything Microsoft's trying to do online. Mobile is going to be there. Yahoo has a decent position in mobile and will continue to try and push that. So this is a long way away, and I think this is what the FTC finally came to understand in all of this. This is a long way away from being a settled market. Not only do you have 5 or 6 big players, of which Google and Apple are probably the 2 biggest, but you've literally got dozens upon dozens, especially when you look globally, of other small companies that are coming at this space from a different angle. So, government getting involved at this stage is just way, way too early.
Okay, Heath Terry coming to us from FBR Capital Markets to talk about the FTC clearing Google's acquisition of AdMob, giving us some perspective on what this means for Google.